Fucking Christ. It's 3:30 in the morning. My house has had no power for like almost 2 straight days. Got a generator running just to keep this fucking light on. Yeah, I'm filming with. I want to talk to you guys about the death of anime. Recently, a sort of infamous blowhard anime director by the name of Yutaka Yamamoto stated that anime is dead. Yutaka Yamamoto also said he would retire after he finished working on the show Fractale. If the show was not successful, which it wasn't. He did disappear for a few years, but he came back, you know. He's the guy who got fired from Kyoto Animation after the first 4 episodes of Lucky Star, and who's infamously said all kinds of things about the anime industry. Doesn't seem like a pleasant guy to work with, quite frankly. You know who else is apparently not a very pleasant guy to work with, who has lots of quotes that people love bringing up about anime being dead or going to shit, is Hayao Miyazaki. Infamous for his many quotes about otaku being trash or whatever. Anime is shit nowadays. Some of them are misquotes. There's a whole video by Nino about Miyazaki's attitude and what he really feels. But the guy has also been a contentious figure his whole life. He's always been someone who talks shit about the state of the industry or about other creators, and who constantly says he's going to retire and then ends up making another movie anyways, as he's currently working on one after his retirement film The Wind Rises. What is it with blowhards and retirement? I don't know. There's this really great article I saw this one time. I'll try to find it and put a link in the description if I remember, which I doubt I will because I never do. Where it was a collection of excerpts from different letters and articles from like 200 years. A collection of excerpts about how the written word was dying. There were some from the 1800s talking about how now with the printing press, the written word was dying, or how these kids these days, they don't know how to write letters anymore. People don't know how to, people are forgetting how to write. The form is dying. And there would be quotes from like every single year throughout all of time. Your great-grandfathers thought that your grandfathers were killing the medium of writing, who themselves thought that their sons were, your fathers were killing the medium of writing, who themselves think that you're killing the medium of writing. Everyone thinks it. Everyone thinks that the medium is dying. And if I had something to blame, it would be getting old. Being attached to one set of values, not wanting things to change, not wanting things to evolve beyond what you wanted them to be. I think that's really where this idea that mediums are dying comes from. There was a great video recently by a channel called Hip Hop DX called Hip Hop Hates Mumble Rap, about how there's, a lot of these older rappers have been talking shit about the young rappers who are coming up right now. Someone's coming up my stage.
Interrupting a thing.
Yeah, what do you want though?
I was just going to go and say hi. Or goodbye. That was it. No point, no purpose.
Anyways, they were talking about how all these older rappers have been, dissing all these young rappers who have these different styles. And the young rappers kind of came back at them with like, people like our stuff. We like our stuff. We're just, moving in a different direction. It's not like what you guys were doing, There's one great quote from Soulja Boy where he's talking shit about Ice Cube. If you don't know who any of those are, just go watch the video. It's interesting. Where he's saying how, like, for the older generation, they were, like, breaking conventions and they were breaking the rules. And people were saying that their music shouldn't exist, but they were doing it anyways. And now they're the ones holding this new generation back. And the new generation's like, well, fuck you. We're going to do what we want to do, Now, I think that we probably don't have a lot of anime directors and people stepping out to say, fuck you, older generation, we do what we want. That would be pretty against, like, the Japanese mentality in general, where seniority plays a really big role in the workplace and is kind of, well ingrained into the ways people speak and act. I don't think you're going to get that kind of uppityness that you would get from, like, a young rapper whose entire game is about, talking shit and, saying fuck you to authority. But I can't help but feel like all the people who are talking about the death of anime are older people who wanted anime to be a certain way, and it just didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. But is anime dead? It doesn't seem that way to me. More shows than ever are coming out. We still have shows that are like, record-breaking Blu-ray sales every couple of years. We just had the newest one being Osomatsu-san, which like blew away all these sales figures in Japan. We've still got really big, huge shows getting popular here in the States. We've still got, anime, it seems like if anything it's growing bigger and bigger. I don't know if it's making more money per se, but there's more shows coming out, more people watching those shows, more people interested, and if you ask me, we've been having a fantastic year in terms of quality. It really just depends on, what your taste is and what you're looking for and what you're actually willing to go out of your way to seek out and research and watch. But if you ask a lot of the people who keep up with the current shows, ask Mother's Basement, who's been like totally in love with this year's output. He's had like 5 shows he loved every season. I've had a considerable number of shows that I've been really into. Nothing that I've had like a 10 out of 10 classic this year. I haven't had something that really like struck a chord with me in a big way, but it has been a really fucking solid year for anime, and it has been for the last half decade. A lot of my favorites came out in 2013 and 2014. But that's all aside. I talked about that in anime shit now. I really want to just address, like, how long this has been a concern. Because Hayao Miyazaki has been decrying the state of the anime industry since, like, the 60s. Back when anime first started to be a thing, it wasn't going to be all that different from, like, Disney films, which, for those who don't know, Disney films are animated, they're extremely animated. Everything's moving all the time. Every single frame, there's 24 frames per second in film, and every single frame of a Disney film would have animation on it. Anime with Osamu Tezuka figured out how to make it cheap. He figured out that they could, use 12 frames instead of 24 and just double up on each frame, show it twice, so that it's animated on 2s instead of being animated on 1s. He figured out all these ways to make TV anime cheap, put in a 1.5-minute opening theme, a 1.5-minute ending theme, add in all these reusable animations and stuff, and focus more on each individual frame looking good instead of on the animation itself looking good. And, that's what he was able to do. And Hayao Miyazaki has always hated that. He's always hated that anime went in that direction. And if you watch Hayao Miyazaki's films, they're fucking all these gorgeously animated masterpiece films where he personally checks every single frame of animation, and he's known for being this like dictator of his studio that like if you watch like the documentary the Kingdom of Dreams and Madness, or read interviews with like any younger people working for his studio, and they always say that he's like, they're like, it's a real honor to work on this film and to get to be a part of something this good, but like it kind of sucks working for Miyazaki because he's so particular about what he wants. He wants anime to be a certain way, this utterly perfectly crafted work of pure genius art. And he doesn't want it to be this pop media. He doesn't want it to be, something that's easy to make or easy for everyone. And sure, maybe a lot of fans, want it to be more like Miyazaki as well. But personally, I think there's so much that you can get out of something without it having to be that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Check out Perfection Isn't Interesting to see a video of mine where I talk about how sometimes just having a lot of cool ideas or having an idea that particularly resonates with the viewer is much more powerful than having something that's perfectly crafted. But it's been a concern for all time. I've read so many interviews talking about how anime was going downhill over time. It's ridiculous. I read this JC Staff interview in a New Type magazine that I have that someone sent me. And it was the president of JC Staff talking about how anime is all about cute girls now, and it's harder to get original projects off the ground. This was in 2004, and I was like, there were no, original anime on TV didn't even really become a thing until Eva. Original TV anime was not really a thing that happened much. There was a lot of original OVAs, and that market oversaturated itself in the early 90s when, the the bubble economy burst. No one had money to make OVAs anymore. The quality started going down, and more people were churning them out. And you just ended up with a market flooded with shitty OVAs. So OVAs stopped being viable, you know? Gainax producers and the people who made Ava thought, like, what if we made a whole TV series that was original and wasn't just made to sell toys? And they did, and then there was a stream of those, and then a lot of them sucked, and they flooded the market with lackluster material. And then, you know, the cycle repeats itself, and then they start looking for, well, what's actually going to sell? Who's actually buying the stuff? Let's market to them. But do I really think that there's, like, less original anime coming out now? There's not at all. There's really not less at all. This year had a ton of original anime, you know, and maybe you don't like Kotetsujo no Kabaneri or something, you know, but that was like a big high budget visionary sort of, you know, I mean, it wasn't like an art house project, but it certainly had a vision it wanted to go for, and it certainly was a certain director taking his style to like the utmost of what he could do with it, because it was just the epitome of the style of that director. Toshio Okada, who was, you know, the Ota King way back in the late 80s. You know, he's the guy who founded Gainax, who wrote Otaku no Video, and he wrote Gunbuster. And he wrote tons and tons of books about otaku-ness. He's got like I think he's got like an internet show that he does about like otaku culture and shit. But like, he's been decrying the way otaku's culture is going for like 10 years. He's always saying all this shit, and I don't really get the impression he even watches that much anime or cares that much about what's actually happening in anime. He's like observing it from the perspective of someone who was once an insider, but doesn't even seem like he is anymore. And he was saying how like the otaku era is dead because of Kimi no Nawa, because of Your Name, that like that because normies are seeing this movie, and therefore you know, the otaku era is dead. And I'm like, what's the difference between Kimi no Nawa and fucking The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, or Summer Wars, or anything, or Wolf Children, any of the films by Mamoru Hosoda? What the fuck makes this one the death of the otaku era? Did not normies flock to those movies? Is Mamoru Hosoda not considered the director you show to your mom to get her into anime? You know, like, where is this coming? I mean, okay, Kimi no Nawa was insanely successful, and it has, you know, continued to be extremely successful. And, like, you've got Yamakan, who's saying that anime is dead, who's over here going, you know, when I saw Kimi no Nawa, I realized that I, you know, I still had some friends in the industry. Like, there's still people who are doing what I'm trying to do. May I remind you, Yamakan is known for directing the dance sequence in Haruhi, the first 4 episodes of Lucky Star, Fractale, and Wake Up Girls. That's his oeuvre right there. This is I don't know how to pronounce that word. This is a man who has like exclusively worked on cute girl shows, and Kanagi, you know? This is a guy who does idol shows, cute girl shows. He's known for his dance choreography, talking about how Kimi no Nawa has reminded him that he has allies in the industry and how anime's dead because it's focusing too much on cute girls. It's literally what he's famous for. The man is so unbelievably full of shit that it's hard to even believe. Now, I talked about this in the Anime Shit Now video, that if you think anime is on the decline, it's probably because whatever genre you really liked is not being pandered to anymore, or the people who were whose style you really liked aren't working anymore. You know, a lot of big directors are either dead, like Satoshi Kon, or have moved out of the industry. You know, there's lots of stuff. Like, there's lots of reason for certain people, you know, if you have a very specific taste, to think that anime is not good anymore because it's not pandering to your taste. But I think to suggest that anime is of a lower quality now is, like, I mean, sure, if, you know, I'm not saying that there's, like, an objective standard that we can hold everything to, but if you can't look and appreciate the fact that other people are clearly enjoying anime as much as they ever did, that, like, if you liked those genres that those other people like, then you would have plenty to watch, you know? Like, to say that, I mean, I guess it's fair to say anime is worse from my perspective, to say that I like anime less, you know, because it's not doing what I want it to do. But, like, I think it's so bizarre to me to hear like Toshio Okada saying the otaku era is over, as if there's not still otaku shows and otaku marketing happening everywhere. Didn't ReZero just like be one of the most successful shows of this year? That was the most otaku fucking thing possible. I mean, sure, you could claim that it's critical of otaku culture or whatever, but so have successful shows been for the last 15 fucking... No, for the last 25 fucking years. There have been successful shows criticizing otaku culture. What is Evangelion? The most successful otaku show of all fucking time, you know? Jesus fucking Christ. Anime's dead now. From Yamakan. From the guy who directed a show so bad that it was both, like, it was, you know, Fractale was not unsuccessful because it was underhyped. You know, everyone knew about that show. It was garbage. It was a terrible show that sold nothing, and he talked all this big shit and got humbled by his show being a terrible catastrophe, and then comes back years later with this, like, low-budget idol show, like, whatever, man. It's oh, every time someone talks about how, like, a medium is dying or art is getting worse, I just find it so funny, because to me, all it tells me, the only thing it says to me is that you are out of touch. That's all it says. If you've come to the conclusion that things are getting worse in the arts, you are simply out of touch, because so much good art is coming out now. It's unfucking believable. Art has only gotten better in every medium, every fucking medium, because everyone's doing it now. It's easier to do, it's more accessible to do, everyone's doing it, it's everywhere, and it's evolving faster than ever before, you know? Music is evolving so quickly that new genres are being formulated every fucking month, you know? And, like, whole new ideas are being explored. New sounds are being made up that people didn't know could be made before, you know? There's animation coming out using techniques that, like, people would have never thought of 20 years ago, you know? And some people will say, oh, well, you know, oh, well, that web generation animation is just, you know, it's just shit. It doesn't follow the fundamentals. Well, guess what? Fuck the fundamentals. If you only are about the fundamentals, then, like, where can you go from there? If the fundamentals have been perfected, why do you want to keep doing the same thing over and over again? We need experimentation. We need evolution. That's the basis of all life on planet fucking Earth, is evolution and finding new ways to progress and keep moving forward. That's what life's about. It's not about standing still and putting your flag down and saying, this is what's good. It's about deciding that you're gonna... You get what I'm fucking saying. I'm just repeating myself. Hayao Miyazaki is kind of a strange relic. This is a man who has been making the same kind of animation, and I mean, not to say that he hasn't experimented, he certainly has, but he's been following that same methodology for his whole career, and no one else is like that, you know? There's no other studio that makes movies like Ghibli, not because Ghibli is just better than all the other studios, but because Ghibli has Hayao Miyazaki. Ghibli has this ethos that they've been holding to that just is not what the times are about anymore. It's not what it is, like, you know, what people are looking for in animation necessarily. And, you know, on some level, what people are looking for in animation now is, you know, stuff like Love Live, the movie. And on some level, it's stuff like Kimi no Nawa. Like, there's a million different strands of evolution happening here. All these different types of shows coming out, you know. Who are we to say that a season is bad because you happened to watch, like, I don't know, what's a shitty show from last season? Whatever. If you watch some shitty show, but, like, you know, if you're not into cheer danshi, it doesn't mean that anime is getting worse. There was a good show, you know. I talked about all this in anime shit now. I don't want to get too much down the anime is still good hole. I more want to present the idea that, like, every time anyone makes a big deal out of someone saying anime is dead, I just want you to take a step back and realize that no matter who that is, no matter how influential they are just repeating something that has been said throughout all time. Something that every old person has said of the new generation of young people. And please, dear God, I'm going to pull an Eminem and make a promise I can't keep and tell you, if you ever hear me saying that art has gotten worse, please kill me. Please kill me. Because I will know that I am officially, I am officially just out of touch and beyond the pale. I am officially an old fuck. If I ever start saying, like, oh, things have gone downhill because they're not making stuff like what I used to watch in the good old days, you know, real art for real people, please kill me. Because I'll deserve it. Unless I'm still making great movies like Hayao Miyazaki, then, you know, just, like, say whatever, Grandpa, and then, like, leave me to go make my cool movies.